Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wrestling with the Plot. Um, Up until this point, I've talked about a few, I guess, basic things. We talked about how to write the opening lines in your novels. We talked about conflict and climaxes. On the wrestling side, we talked about tag teams, types of finishes, couple of things. I mean, the channel's still pretty new at this point, and I still have a lot of basic topics to cover, I guess, out of what is the word? Courtesy, I guess, because you can't just go on talking about a bunch of advanced topics without getting all that basic stuff out of the way. But today I'm going to do. We're gonna write it. We're gonna do a feud today, a storyline. So this is going to somewhat, like most of my videos will usually be about a writing topic or about a wrestling topic as it relates to writing. Today is going to do kind of both. So now, feud storyline basically is two characters or four if it's either a one-on-one or a two-on-two. Basically, you have two sides of a conflict that you are going to decide to have for your story, and it basically starts, builds, and then leads up to a final culmination at a pivotal point, I guess. Um, in wrestling, on wrestling is when it's on TV, they have their weekly shows where they basically build up toward the pay-per-view. And that is up until a couple of years ago, that was how they made money. Like you would have episodes on free television and it was supposed to pique your interest to make you spend the money to see how it ended at the pay-per-view on Sunday. So there are several different wrestling promotions out there, and they each have their own little schedule and way that they do it. For this one, I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to do the basic, I guess, WWF, WWE style, but instead of doing, I'm only going to do one weekly show because we're going to do the longest programs usually tend to go about 3 months unless it's something that they really strike the iron and catch fire with, and then they do it for a lot longer. But most feuds in wrestling tend to go 1, 2, or 3 months. So we're going to do a 3 month and with only one weekly show. So that's going to be 15 different events that we have to do. So I'm gonna go through the story, and I'm going to, I guess, explain as I'm going along what I'm trying to do, and in the end, it'll all make sense. So the first thing that we need, because we've already determined how long the feud is going to go, I'm gonna keep it simple. It's only gonna be a one-on-one. So we need a hero and a villain, which obviously. So, and since we have to do this for 3 months, we don't want to just have the hero and villain face each other 15 times. That would obviously get very stale. So those are our two major characters. We need to add in some minor characters to help mix things up and give us a little bit of variety. So to help with this, we are going to place a manager with our villain. So right now we have three characters. So we have on the one side we have the hero, and then on the other side we have the villain and his manager who accompanies him to the ring to the matches. So, okay, so for the first month, obviously up until now, these two may or may not have come into conflict with each other, but basically they don't really have much animosity toward each other. So in this first match between the two, the first the first time that our two main characters meet each other and come into confrontation with each other, um, we're going to have the manager help the villain cheat. Now, the reason that we do this is because if it's a fair fight and the person wins without any outside interference or whatever, well, it's like, okay, they won. And that goes for anything. Like if you have a football game and there were no penalties called, well, then the team that won the game won the game. You can't be like, oh, the refs were cheating, or, so there's no excuse if nothing happens. So the manager is there to help the villain cheat to win when I guess the referee is not looking, or he does something or distracts the referee, whatever he does. But basically, the villain has won this first match, but it wasn't clean, which is something that we had talked about in the types of finishes. So basically, yeah, the villain has won, but he didn't win the right way. It's like, okay, the hero could have won, or the villain could have won. We don't really know who won because there was some screwy stuff going on, right? So, and then also this first interaction, it sets the pace, gives you a baseline of their abilities to fight each other before the manager got involved. So whatever they do before the outside interference, it kind of establishes how these two are going to interact with each other going forward. Okay, so that's first week out of the way. They had a match, manager interfered. Now we've got some unfinished business. So next week, the hero, he's gonna want a rematch, and he's gonna be like, "Hey, you cheated. Like, we need to settle this." But of course, the villain, he's not gonna be interested in that. He's gonna be like, "Well, I already won. Why should I do it again?" And then, so since the villain, has no interest in facing the face or the hero again, the face is gonna have to either like goad him into it, or call him a chicken, talk about his mama, whatever. Like he's gonna do whatever he has to do to get him to agree to it. And notice that he didn't, like, he just kind of talked him into it, because as we go, things are going to escalate. So right now they're still in the talking phase. So the hero goes the villain into it somehow. They agree to a match next week. All right, so third week, this match lasts longer than the first match that they had, because now they fought each other before, so they have sort of an idea of what the other one's going to do. So they're a bit more evenly matched, they're a bit more prepared to fight than they were the first time. So this is a much more pitched battle than the last one that they had. And but again, the manager interferes, the villain wins again, and whatever, there's two ways to go about this. The manager can do the exact same thing again, and that, you know, that can be frustrating for the fans in the audience or the reader of your story. It's like, oh man, this was not supposed to happen a second time, and here it is happening again, and I still haven't gotten the satisfying conclusion that I'm looking for. Or you can go the other way with it, and the manager can do something completely different. And then just every time that the manager gets involved, like he pulls another trick out of his bag or whatever. So he can do the same thing every time, and then you know what's going to happen, but at the same time, you hope it doesn't happen. Or it can be something different, and then you have to wonder what the manager is going to do. Either way, villains won again. So now he's won twice. Now, next week, obviously, our hero is going to be frustrated with what's going on, but the I guess authority figures can step in. They say we've got something here, so they're going to schedule them for a match at the pay-per-view. Now, in WWFE, they were having pay-per-views every month. That may change, but for the purpose of what we're doing, there's going to be one every month. So you have the 4 weekly spots, and then you have the pay-per-view spot. So now, so they've scheduled this match at the pay-per-view. They're going to ban the manager from ringside. Now, they're going to do that because the manager has interfered twice already. So to make sure that we get the ending, the definitive finish, we're going to ban him from even coming out, so that way he will be nowhere around. And now, the hero is going to beat the villain in front of everybody because there's going to be even more people. So there's increased stakes. The hero's definitely going to win because every time that the villain starts losing, the manager does something. So this time, like, is going to happen this time. So that match takes place. The hero has got it. He's got the upper hand, and while it's not a curb stomp, they're still facing each other. But it's like, okay, the hero's gonna get it this time because there's no outside, no nonsense. Like, he's gonna win. But then they do a move or a slam or an errant punch goes or whatever happens. Referee gets bumped. So now the referee's on the floor. He been hit by a stray punch or a kick or whatever. He's on the ground. He can't see what's going on. The villain seizes this opportunity and cheats again while the ref is down and can't see what's going on. He pins him. The ref looks over, sees the pin, counts 1, 2, 3. The villain has won again, but the villain has cheated again. So not only like did the hero, because the first 2 times that they fought, it was pretty even, and then just at the slightest inconvenience, the manager got involved. But this time, the hero had it, totally had it, and then just at the last second, the opportunistic villain took advantage, turned it around, and got the pin, got the win. So now, not only did the hero come closer than he's ever come to winning and hasn't won, but the villain is still cheating. So it's not even like, it's not decisive. It's dirty. It's a dirty finish. It's not clean. And now we've been at this for a month, and we still are no closer to determining who is the best between these two. I mean, we all know it's the hero because, I mean, the villain keeps cheating. But at the same time, we're coming up on this point to where we just want to see the villain get his butt kicked now because he deserves it, because he's a jerk. So now we've got a little bit of history into the feud. We're a third of the way through it. We, as the writer slash booker of this feud, know that, but obviously the audience does not really know how long this is going to go on. It could end at any moment for them. But since we are putting this together and we're planning and scheduling it or whatever, so we know that this is going 3 months. But the reader does not know. So basically, we have to keep them on the edge of their seat about when the finish is going to come. So now we go to the second month. The villain is now, first week, second month. So the villain's celebrating, and he knows he cheated because it wasn't like when the manager was cheating for him, and then he was just like, well, I didn't do anything, because that was that guy. I had nothing to do with it. But with this case, he's like, yeah, I did what I had to do. Doesn't matter though, because the only thing that matters is when you go on Wikipedia or whatever and you look up the show, is going to say I won. It's not going to say how I won or anything like that. Like, all that matters is who wins at the end of the day. And I beat this guy 3 times in a row. I'm not doing it again. And I won all my matches last month. I am going to take a night off. I'm going home. And he leaves. And it's like, geez, the nerve of this guy. He hasn't even won a fair fight. And he's just like, I work hard. I'm gonna go take a break. And like, the nerve of this dude, right? So he's leaving. The hero is backstage, looking for him, but can't find him because he's already left. So he was looking around for him, trying to get his hands on him for what he did. He wasn't able to. Later on in the night, because now we're going to do something. So later on in the night, the hero just has a regular match with someone else. He's going to win that match. So that would be just a little random side conflict or like a one-off event, but the hero wins that. And this is important because now that we are a ways into this, the hero needs some momentum. Because we got the villain milking his victories, but now the hero has got to win in too, even though it's not against the person that we want to see. Now, second week, the villain is still refusing to a rematch. And, but, I mean, he still has to, just because he doesn't want to have a rematch with this guy, I mean, he still has to have matches and do his job with others. So we're going to say that he has a match against another newer, younger person who is also a face or on the good side. We're going to call this guy the rookie. So he's got a match against a rookie. Match is short because obviously the villain is a veteran. And this young guy, he can get a little bit of offense in, but the villain's definitely winning and is probably going to win until the hero shows up and gets into it with the manager, who is again at ringside. And the villain notices this and is distracted. And then, so as soon as he turns around, the rookie smacks, just hits him with a big move, caught him off guard, manages to pin him. 1, 2, 3, upset victory. Now, the fans should like this because the villain got taken down a peg, but at the same time, we still haven't seen our hero get him. And yeah, he got him, but I mean, he snuck him. So it's clean, but at the same time, it's still less reputable than a legit finish. But yeah, so and then so our rookie's got a surprise upset victory that's gonna elevate him. The hero caused this distraction, so he's finally getting a little bit of payback on his own. And the villain has been taken down a peg. So rookie goes up, hero goes up, villain finally comes down after like 5 straight weeks of up. And of course, the villain is going to be pissed at all of this. So when we go to the third week, our rookie is having a match with someone else, some random person, we don't need to know who. And the villain comes down, gets in, just beats him into orange juice pulp, just on the ground, just and as soon as the hero comes out to save him, he just slips away and runs off because he's like, I'm dealing with him. I'll deal with you later. So he's not trying to fight both of them at the same time, but he has managed to beat the rookie up for humiliating him the week before. And as you notice, we had this we have this hero versus villain thing going on, but now we also have kind of like this little sideways conflict where he also just is dealing with this third person that humiliated him or whatever, but it's still part of the same story because the only reason that the rookie got him in the first place is because the hero from earlier got involved. So, yeah, there's a side conflict brewing, but at the same time, the side conflict was generated from the original conflict. So that's how that goes. And now, all right, so fourth week, the villain comes out and he's like, fine, hero, you want a rematch? I'll give you one this Sunday or whatever. And I tell you what, I won't even bring my manager. I'm just going to beat you myself. And this is what he's going to do. And so this is what the hero wants. So naturally, he accepts it. Now, second match, since we know that we're doing three, see, the reader doesn't know this. So um, the hero could win, the villain could win again. But since we know that we're doing three, the hero has to win this. That way they'll be 1-1, and then we can do the best 2 out of 3. Now, here's the deal. There are a bunch of ways to go about that. But what we're going to do in this particular feud, brief match, not that long. Couple minutes in, villain allows himself to get thrown out of the ring. The manager shows up, and of course we know that the villain was like, hey, I'm not going to bring him. So when he comes out, it's like, okay, what is this? So while the hero is trying to figure out what the manager is up to, because the manager has been cheating him just as much, well, more than the villain. So that's, you have to look out to see what he's up to. And the villain's out on the floor. So right now, I guess the most pressing threat is the guy on his feet. Villain comes back in. He's got a chair. Doesn't see it. Whap! Hits him over the head with the chair. He's down. Referee's still up, so the match is over. Disqualification. So the hero has won the match, but it's by disqualification. And now that he's got this chair, we're just gonna have him just beat the hero, just kind of pulverize him the same way that he did to the rookie the week before. So the villain has gotten revenge on both of them at this point. And when we go into the third month, villain comes out and he explains, he's like, I never really wanted a match. I just wanted to teach both of them a lesson about messing with me because he came out and interfered in my business and caused me to lose. And then the rookie guy thinking that he's such hot stuff because he got a win over me. So I teach them both that they ain't nothing. I beat both of them up. And now, and shoot, the hero, I beat him so bad, he's not even here this week because he's got to recover from that beatdown that I put on him. So now our hero is slightly injured or whatever from getting beat repeatedly with a chair and all that. So we may not be getting, as the viewer is like, okay, at one match he cheated and in the other match it was a setup. So, and now the hero is out. So we may not get a conclusion to this for a while. And that's just aggravating because like we just want to see this guy get beat up, and now it's like, well, shoot, it might not happen. He just might get away with all of this. Crazy. Now, so week 2, what do we do? So now, obviously, so now week 2, our hero is sort of out of the picture, but we got to keep this thing going. And so what we're going to do, since he interfered and beat the rookie down or whatever, Rookie's got to get some revenge too. So week two, we're going to have week two, third month. We're going to have the villain have a match against the rookie again, and this time the villain wins. Just clean win. Maybe is a little bit more balanced than the first time that they went at it. So now they've had their three interactions with each other, and the main character villain has won two of them. And, I mean, Ricky doesn't stand a chance, but I mean, he's trying. So, all right, third week. So, Hero has been recovering for, I guess, 2 weeks at this point, or three, depending on what day of the week your show is. Um, so he comes out. He's looking a little beaten, might have a cast on or an arm in a sling or something like that. But either way, he gets the microphone, he calls the villain down, and he's like, hey, I want one more match with you. And this time it's going to be in a steel cage that way. And the reason he's going to propose that stipulation is so that he the villain cannot get away and the manager cannot get in. So basically, when enough screwy things are happening in wrestling, you put the match in a cage so that way everything that was going on cannot go on. So if somebody's running in and interfering, they can't get through the cage. If the guy is in the ring and running out on the match, he can't get out. So like this is how like it's gonna get settled now in this cage. So now why would the villain accept such a stipulation? Well, he's looking at the hero in a sling and with crutches or whatever. He thinks that the hero is injured and that this is going to be easy. In fact, it might be fun. As he's just like, oh, you just really want to beat me so bad. Like, you're in no condition to do this. But yeah, if you want me to beat you up again, yeah, sure, why not? So, and then he takes it one step further. He's going to try and hit him while they're talking. Because, I mean, you're going to beat him up anyway, so you may as well tenderize him a little more. So he takes a swing, Hero ducks it, and then just starts wailing on him. Turns out, Hero's not really hurt. The hero has tricked him into taking this match stipulation, and now he's beaten. So, villain's going to slip out, he's going to run away. And the reason that he's going to run away is because, okay, he's running now, but at that pay-per-view, he can't run because of the cage. So basically, you're demonstrating, yeah, he ran away this time, but he can't run away next time. So, like, everything we do has a purpose of some sort. So the reason that we show him running away now, even though he didn't run away any other time, we're showing that that can't happen. It's happening now. It ain't gonna happen later. So get excited. Now, so we got 1 week left. We've got the Go Home show, which is the show before the pay-per-view, and then the pay-per-view itself. So on the Go Home, Villain comes out and he's going to cut one more promo. And he's going to say, he's like, okay, because after what happened last week, because he's been embarrassed again, he doesn't like that. So he's like, this guy has embarrassed me twice now. So when the cage comes down, that's it. That's the end. No more Mr. Nice Guy. I'm going to beat the hero. It's going to be brutal because I'm sick of it. Now, the reason that they don't interact is because they're going to, but the reason that we have him talk is because now we see that they both can't wait to get each other into this cage. The hero wants to get his due and his payback for how the villain's been jerking him around for 3 months. And the villain, now he has something on the line because, okay, these guys have been embarrassing him. And so even like if he basically it's at the point now where it's like he doesn't even want to cheat. He just wants to beat this guy up. So now they both have something to prove. And this is building and been building every week. Like every week we want to see them beat each other up more and more than we did the week before. And every week they have more and more on the line. And now it's to the point where it's like, okay, they both have to beat the other one. Like this is coming to a head. So now we go to it. Match takes place. This is going to be the longest match out of any that we've had up to this point. They're going at it. It's hectic. They're throwing each other into the cage. Like nobody can escape. It's very violent. They're doing everything that they can because this is the final time. And I mean, if we wanted to keep it going, we could, but we're not. So, like, basically, the hero is looking like he's going to do it this time. Manager cannot get in, but he's out there, but he can't do anything because he'd have to climb over the cage wall or he'd have to unlock the door somehow. Like, there's no way for him to get in with all the referees and things around. So there's nothing he can do. But then, at some point, it's possible that he may try to help or he may try to, like, once things get too bad or whatever, he might try to open the gate to get his guy out or do something. So the manager gets involved, even though he can't really affect the flow of the match, but he starts getting involved. And so what happens? The rookie comes out and chases the manager off. And now the villain can't, like, the manager can't help the villain because the villain's in the cage, and the villain can't help his manager because he's not in the cage. So basically, this cage has provided a barrier, and like neither of them can help each other anymore. So this is like the villain has no choice but to just finish his fight on his own, and it builds up to a climatic move and finish, and then bam, it happens, and then whoever pins the other, and 1, 2, 3 is over, and we have a winner. Which in my case, it would probably be the hero, but I mean, it could be the villain too. It depends on what kind of finish they decide to do. So maybe he tries to hit that move and the villain reverses it or dodges it or it goes off wrong or one way or another, and it's like he had him, but he still came up short. Don't know. So, but either way, the winner has been decided, and that was a clean finish. So basically, the feud, that was the blow off. So the feud is over by that point. Um, it could go on further, but we're going to just end it. Now, as far as writing goes, there were a couple of things that we tried to accomplish there. We had increasing stakes. Each confrontation between the two had more on the line than the previous one. There was an increase in, what am I trying to say? There's more intensity because at first it was just, it was just a one-off match, and then it was a screwy finish, and then they had a better rematch, and there was another screwy finish, and then when you dealt with the source of the screwy finishes, and he's like, basically it was just each time, every time that we try to deal with whatever happened in the last time, and then something else happens, and so it keeps going. We had a standard hero and villain, which, I mean, any story I mean, they may not be hero and villain, but basically you're protagonist and antagonist. In this case, it was the straightforward protagonist was the good guy. One was fighting fairly, the other one was cheating. Everyone knows who the good guy is and who the bad guy is. There's someone that we are obviously meant to root for, and another person that we were obviously meant to dislike. There are instances where the person that is meant to be disliked kind of comes off as a anti-hero or just a likable jerk or whatever. If the we'll talk about that in another video because this is already going on. But basically, you have the two people and they're almost equally matched. Neither can really beat the other one flat very quickly. But the villain cheats, the heel cheats whenever things go sideways. So we never really get the answer of who's going to win in a straight up battle. And another thing that we were trying to do, we were trying to give the viewer or the reader a reason to come back or a reason to turn the page. So basically, in the case of wrestling, you do it to see the match between two people that we want to see, or to see the heel get beat. And but every time that it almost happens, it slips away, and then so it's like oh, you almost had it. You had to be quicker than that, like the commercial. So we all want this thing. We want to see what's going to happen next. We want to say, well, what will the villain do to escape justice, or how will the hero finally outsmart him and kick his butt? And see, what else did we do? We established character, very important, as we saw that every time that the villain was embarrassed or disrespected, he would come out and just beat up whoever did it to him, and he would want to fight. And then we saw that the hero was determined to get revenge on a man that cheated him. We saw that the rookie could not face up to the veterans, but he also didn't back down. So we saw that, our rookie was brave and, willing to go. The hero, he persevered, and then he was also kind of clever because he basically knew, he was like, okay, there's only one way I can get you to agree to this match. And the first time he just kind of talked him into it. The second time the villain tricked him into it because he never intended to have the match. But then in the end, he's like, I'm just going to put you in a position where you have to agree to this match and you have to win it the normal way, because otherwise, like, basically I'm jabbing you in your pride, which is what you care about. So basically, they behave consistently from start to finish. And another thing we had is definitive points, because yeah, we had each week, because we had 15 different events take place, but only 3 of those were kind of definitive, in where, like, basically the TV show weeks led up to the pay-per-view weeks. And so when those pay-per-views came around, those major matches, like, the story could continue, it could shift, or it could end, depending on what happened. So those key points determine the direction of the feud and of the story. So yeah, there were, you could say, 15 chapters in this story, but only 3 of them really determined the outcome, or yeah, like maybe 3, 4, or 5, the 3 pay-per-views, and then maybe 2 or 3 of the weekly ones where something important happened kind of in the middle of the month to keep us, basically feeding us to get us to the next point. And all of that leads up to the payoff, the climax, the blow off, whatever you want to call it. So all the cheating, all the arguments, all the matches, rematches, beatdowns, all led to that ultimate and final confrontation inside the cage, where there could only be one winner, and everything that led to this point is neutralized. So that you can't cheat, you can't get distracted. Everybody gets to take out all their frustrations from the last 3 months out on each other, and then the hero finally pulls through and the crowd gets what they came to see. And if the finish is satisfying, then the crowd will go wild and throw babies in the air and all that. And just because the hero wins, or your protagonist overcomes your antagonist, the finish still has to be satisfying. It can't just be like, oh, well, he won, the end. It has to be something meaningful. All right. So if it's just an uninspired and short finish, then all that build would be for nothing. So even though you did everything you could do to lead up to the ending, you have to stick the landing, and that's important. So that is how that goes. One final point that I'm going to make, in the case of this one, everyone should look good. Now, what does that mean? So not good like good or bad, but good as in reputable and legitimate. So in the universe that you create for your fiction, everyone that you want to resonate with your audience should shine in the role that you assign them. So if you have a mentor character, they should be wise and skilled at whatever they're mentoring. It doesn't matter if they're a legendary, infallible person or if they're a disgraced drunk. They have to be good at whatever it is that they do. Or if they, I mean, so they can be a legend, they can be a disgrace, they can be both. They can be a has been. But whatever they are, they have to know what they're mentoring. Arrogant jock characters should be good at being arrogant, and they should be good at sports also. So your characters should be good at whatever role that you have them playing. Now, so as far as making people look good and reputable, we're going to kind of recap here a bit. So the by the rules of wrestling as it is now, the villain won 4 matches and lost 3 over the course of our storyline. He had the upset off a distraction. Beat the hero with the chair on the pay-per-view and basically gave up that win on purpose. And then he lost in the very end in the cage. So even though he lost a few matches, they were kind of few and far in between. And he won more matches than he lost. And on the weeks between matches, he was out, talking smack and being like, I don't have to face you again or whatever. Basically, not giving the people what they wanted. And so the hero, he won 3 and he lost 3. But one of those wins was the disqualification, and the other one was against a character that we didn't designate. So, but also all 3 of the times that he lost, none of those were clean. So, yeah, our hero lost more times than he won, but at the same time, he won all the important matches, like, and when he did lose, he had an excuse to lose. So he never really lost, even though like officially he lost. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I lost, but it's because this guy was not doing right. So basically, when he loses, it doesn't really hurt him because we know he was going to win, and that's what we're here to see him finally win. And the rookie character got 2 wins and a loss. He got that big upset victory. He also got a disqualification win against some random undesignated character because the villain came and beat him up. And then, of course, he lost to the villain when they had their straight fight. So, and even though he can't be the villain, he still came out and chased the manager off in the end. So he helped the hero get that closure that we all wanted to see. And so over the course of 3 months, each person managed to win matches. And while the villain came out ahead most of the time, whenever the good guys managed to get one up on the villain, they take his momentum and they converted it into their own. So yes, the villain is winning and coming out ahead, but all that friction and heat that the villain generates whenever they finally get the one up on him all of that transfers over to them, and then he builds up again and it transfers again, and then when it gets to the top, and then they finally have the final clash. And so that's how that goes. And then overcoming the heel is such an accomplishment that it's kind of quality over quantity. So yeah, the villain won more than the other two, but everyone hopefully came out looking better than they went in, because you got, okay, this rookie, it's like, okay, well, he ain't no pushover. He he's an up and comer. The hero perseveres and gets through, and the villain, well, I mean, even though he cheats and eventually loses, but he never just goes down easy. And then if you make him mad, like, he is dangerous. So basically, everyone in this is reputable, and even the manager, because the manager is protecting his guy, because if his guy wins, that's how he gets paid, you know? So everyone does what they're supposed to do. They do a good job of it, and then hopefully by the end, everyone comes out looking better. Okay. Oof. That was exhausting. Uh, well, I hope that this gives you something to think about. I hope that you enjoyed it. I had fun doing it, but I was in a good mood today. This is kind of, I guess, what I saw in my imagination when I thought about making a channel that combined fiction writing and the writing side of wrestling, I guess. But either way, thank you for thank you for watching all the way through. You're a real trooper. Like, this, if you've watched this whole thing, that means so much to me. But hopefully it, gives you something to think about, inspires you, helps you out, or whatever. I will see you next time. All right. Thank you.